rich McClearn. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom. With rich McClearn. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClearn on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClearn. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClearn. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom with Rich McClearn. Strength, courage, and wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom is a motivational moment designed to equip you and empower you with the necessary fundamentals and strategies to take your business to the next level. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, right here, live on Facebook. You are in for a great treat with Rich McClearn on Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Strength, courage, and wisdom.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So guys, I need you guys to please share, jump on this call, jump on this Facebook Live, share it, text somebody, say, hey, Dr. George Fraser is on the line with Strength, Courage, and Wisdom, Rick and Lesia right now. So Dr. Fraser, we're coming right out the bag. We're going to ask you a series of questions, and we know you can answer them, and I know you're going to do what you normally do. So I'm going to ask the first question, then Lesia is going to ask the second question, and we'll do it like that. So my first question, and I know you got some answers for this. We're going through a pandemic. That was tough in itself. And now we're dealing with an uprising after the killing of George Floyd. And the people are frustrated. They're angered. They're just in a bad space. What do you say to this time? What would you say to the people? If you had a big microphone now, like the president has, or a big pastor, what would you say to the people now?
I would say to our people, thank you, Jesus, for this pandemic. Thank you, Jesus, for this uprising.
Wow.
That we are operating now in God's time. Everything happens for a reason. It serves us in some special way, and we will never understand that reason looking forward, and we will only understand it looking backwards. We are operating in God's time. God is trying to tell us and the world that things are not right, that action must be taken. Not only action by those who oppress us and have historically oppressed us and live their lives in a white privilege, but us who have been oppressed. And so he has created conditions that have brought our plight to the attention of the world. I don't know if you saw the pictures from Paris last night. Almost 1 million people in the streets of Paris protesting George Floyd. So this is a global notification from God to repent, to take action. Now, I want to say the next things and still be loved and understand that I am a race man. I am 75 years old. I am an elder. I have been invested in our people for 40 years. I am a student of Black people. Yes, I am Black, in case you were not entirely sure. That is the beauty of our culture and race. We come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, and hair textures. Lots of options out there, brothers and sisters. No need to stray. So let's get that on the table first.
Yes.
Right? We are not suffering, Richard, because we cannot resolve our problems. We are suffering because we cannot see our problems clearly and succinctly. Write that down, y'all. Let me say it again.
Yes,
We are not suffering because we cannot resolve our problems. We are suffering because we cannot see our problems clearly and succinctly. We have been hurt more by what we don't know than by what we can't do.
It's good.
Hosea 4 verse 6. Everybody knows this, but most people have never read the complete passage. And it says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. But read the rest of the sentence, y'all. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I also reject thee.
My God, come on here.
Thou shalt be no priest to me.
Lord Jesus,
Those with the best information first wins. In a digital age, if you don't develop an appetite for relevant information, brothers and sisters, you will starve from economic malnutrition. We are the most financially illiterate people on the planet. And in my 40 years of travel, 9.5 million frequent flyer miles, 3,500 speeches, 6 best-selling books, my biggest disappointment, 31 trips to the continent, my biggest disappointment as an African-centered leader is that no matter where I travel on the globe, whether it is Seattle or Miami, whether it is San Diego or Maine, whether it is Washington, D.C., California or New York City, whether it is Rio or Bahia, whether it is the Bahamas or Jamaica, whether it is Cape Town, South Africa, or Cairo, Egypt, whether it is Ghana or Kenya. Black people are at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters in the world. We're 400 years into this. We basically occupy the richest continent in minerals needed by the world. 70% of the minerals, precious minerals needed by the world are in Africa. But in Africa, Africans are the poorest people per capita in Africa. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. We are responsible for fixing that. Let me say this and still be loved, brothers and sisters. White people will not be saving black people. I'm sorry, I don't care what you think. White people are not even thinking about black people. Do you know who white people are thinking about? They're thinking about white people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their children, their businesses, their community, their schools, and your pockets. That's what they're thinking about. They ain't thinking about you. White people are doing everything they need to survive. They're the smallest in numbers. They're the 3rd largest race of the 3 major races. Asians are the largest at 4.4 billion. Africans are the 2nd largest at 1.6 billion, but we are God's original people. And Caucasians are about 1 billion, and they have recessive genes. They are doing everything they need to survive with the hate and the sickness and the egregiousness of their oppression of people globally. There is something fundamentally psychologically wrong with them. So they're doing everything they need to do to survive. The problem is, brothers and sisters, we are not doing everything we need to do to survive.
Amen.
That's on us. They're not fixing us. It is not in their best interest to fix black people. It is not in their best interest to make us smarter and or more competitive or more economically literate than them. Things are just fine the way they are. So unless we fix it, it will not be fixed. That black people have every single thing they need to succeed except each other. Jews have each other, East Indians have each other, Arabs have each other, Asians have each other. We don't have each other. We are fundamentally, psychologically out of our natural minds. We must fix this. It's 400 years and it ain't fixed. If you include the colonialism of the continent, we're almost 500 years deep. We have given the Western world everything that we have. They have everything and we have nothing. We're 500 years in it. So it must become clear to our people that if it's going to be fixed, we must fix it. Will there be Caucasians and white people around the world who understand this? Yes, we are seeing this right now. This is a seminal moment. We are seeing white people use white privilege to defeat and to weaponize white privilege. We have been seeing in the riots where brothers and sisters are getting on their knees, raising their hand, and then a white person comes around and stands in front of them, and therefore the police do nothing. So there are some good white people, make no mistake about that. I'm not hating on white people. You see, you don't have to hate anybody to love yourself. It is about self-love. And then there are allies. We have allies. And then that is the effective utilization of our allies. And what can they do to help in this pandemic of lack of moral grounding and spiritual rooting? There's a role that they can play. We must teach them their role. That's what I've been working on. That's my next big thing. But you must understand, as a leader of leaders, I understand that complexity is the enemy of execution. That the more complex you make the solution, the less likely people are to do it. So I specialize in taking big, complicated issues and simplifying them so that we can execute on them. You see, we want progress, Richard, without execution. Let me say it again, brothers and sisters. We want progress without execution. Rodney King was beat up live on television in 1991. Fast forward 19 years, Trayvon Martin and all the other killings. Look at the kill rate of Black people by police departments around the United States over the last 10 years. Look at the kill rate. Nothing has changed. We protested, we saber rattled, we pontificated ad nauseum about our issue. We're 20 years into this crap, Richard, and nothing has changed. Why? Because we did not execute. We did not organize around execution, execution, execution. And the only thing that you're going to be able to do to change the country is to impact politics, to impact and change laws. Dr. King understood that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's how we got civil rights. Yes, we protested. And then we went right to politics. It took us time, but we got the Civil Rights Law. We got the Voting Rights Act. We got Fair Housing Act. That's execution. You just cannot protest and saber rattle and not organize strategically and tactically and execute on a solution. That's what we're missing. How can we be doing this for 20 years with all of the publicity and all of the media and all that has been written about this from Rodney King to now, and no laws have been put into place and nothing has changed? How is that possible? Shame on us.
Yeah.
That's leadership, Richard.
Yep. Yep.
If the fish stinks, look to the head. We have not replaced Malcolm or Dr. King. It has been 50 years. People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, why have Black people gone backwards in the last 50 years? I said, there are two profound reasons. And I want to give you those two reasons and still be loved. We have not replaced Dr. King or Malcolm.
True.
A, it is leadership, leadership, leadership. That's A. And the second reason, and I'm not going to, and I tell my audience, I'm not going to unpack this for you. I'm just going to give this to you to think about deeply when you go home. And then when we meet again next year, we can talk about it.
There you go.
We changed when our music changed.
Woo!
Now think about that.
Mm-mm-mm.
We changed when our music changed. Do you know how important music is to us? Do you know how important rhythm is to us? Do you know that we are African-centered people and we're moved by rhythm? We are an oral culture. We're moved by words. Do you know how important that is to our programming and mindset? We changed when our music changed. I grew up with Dr. King in one ear, Malcolm X in the other ear. 1945 is the year I was born, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. So Dr. King was preaching and teaching. Malcolm was preaching and teaching, right? I grew up when Gil Scott-Heron said the revolution would not be televised. James Brown wrote the iconic song, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." We were wearing afros and dashikis. There was a wokeness and a consciousness. And we changed laws.
Yeah.
Something is askew. Let me say this and still be loved. I have found the enemy, and the enemy is us. White folks ain't fixing this, y'all. Right? Until Black America makes Black America first, Black America will always be last. It's on us.
Wow.
We got to man up and woman up. There are 2 or 3 areas that we must focus on for succeeding generations. A society, a race of people cannot prosper without family. There is no race of people prospering without the concept of family intact. This is biblical. What is the core value, let's say, of the Hispanic Latina race?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what it is. We hear it all
That's
the
right.
time. La familia.
Familiar, that's right.
That's right.
They got 2 working on the problems in the family. We got 1. 72% of our children are born out of wedlock. 60% of our children are being raised by a single parent family, principally our sisters. I love our sisters. I don't know what we Black people would do without women. I don't know what we would do. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yes.
we would do without the strength of our women.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love Black women. I've been married to the same sister for 47 years. I said 47,
Yes.
right? But let me just say this and still be loved. We cannot have our Black women raising our Black men. Black men must participate in raising Black men.
Yeah.
So we need a male influence in the family, and we need a female influence and energy. We need a male influence so our daughters can see what a strong Black man looks like, so that when she chooses her man, she has a model. Our sisters or our brothers need to see what a strong Black woman looks like and a strong Black man looks like, so that when he goes to make his choices for his partner for life, he has a model. We need both. So we have to work on reconnecting the Black family. Now, we also, I'm just being truth to power here, we may even have to change the definition of what the nuclear Black family is.
Ooh.
But we better have the concept of family. We better be talking about family.
Yeah.
However we want to articulate it. Family. Number 2, I said it earlier. And Dr. Amos Wilson, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Amos Wilson, but if you're not familiar, brothers and sisters, with Dr. Amos Wilson, you need to go on YouTube and you need to put in Dr. Amos Wilson, and you need to watch every video this brother recorded before he died in 1995. Dr. Amos Wilson said, our refusal as Black people to confront the issue of money and wealth is going to end up with our very lives being threatened as people on this earth. He was a Black economist. He also said that only when you look at yourself as a nation can you change things. Financial literacy must be focused on. That's what we're focusing on and have been in the 34 years that we have had All Things Fraser Net, the Power Networking Conference, and we have, in fact, built WINS, Wealth Building Centers, and curriculum.
Yep.
Yes, we have our own curriculum. This is a faith-based initiative to embed a financial education system in the historically Black church. There are 85,000 Black churches in America. About 10,000 of them have wealth ministries. I've spoken at about 120 of those wealth ministries, and they need to be upgraded and they need to be improved. So we are now embedding the best wealth building system and curriculum ever designed to educate our people over time around the subjects of financial, all things financial, to include the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth, to fulfill Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. We are outside of our own spiritual teachings. We're the most morally grounded, spiritually rooted people on the planet. Listen, there are 85,000 Black churches. It is the most trusted, the most loved, the most respected institution in our culture. We are the greatest orators on the planet. We are an oral people, right? Every Sunday, 21 to 25 million Black people sit in the pews as congregations in the most important institution in our culture, and our pastors preach the gospel to us every Sunday. There are 2,500 passages related to economics, materialism, and wealth in the Bible. 8 of Jesus's 39 parables are about economics. There are no better preachers on the planet than our preachers. So I want to say the next thing is still be loud. Either one of 2 things are happening, Richard. Either they are not preaching the right things, or we ain't listening. One of those 2 things.
Wow.
Because if a 21st century church in a digital age is not teaching its congregants all things financial, when there are 2,500 references to financial and economics in the Bible, they are not going to have a church in the 21st century. You'll see in my flyer, I don't know if you could see this, but you'll notice that the big picture on the flyer is a big, beautiful, fancy church. Can you see that?
Yep.
Mhm.
See it?
You
Yep.
see that?
Yes, yes.
That picture represents an existential crisis in the Black church. What do you mean, Dr. Fraser? You will see this big, beautiful church. And the message to pastors who look at this flyer and read it is, if you take up the mantle of God wanting us to educate our people about things, economics, if you do that, if that becomes a ministry in your church, you can have a big, beautiful church that looks like that. If you don't, and you do not bring your congregants to, and again, I'm not talking prosperity preaching.
Right.
I'm not for that. I'm not talking about that.
That's right. I know.
Right.
I'm talking
Right.
about basic financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
The clarification. Yep.
Yes.
If you do not do that for your congregants, you will have an empty church that looks just like that.
Ooh.
My God.
Right?
Mm.
And it is to the best interest of the Black ecclesiastical community, because the more we teach our people about how to properly manage their wealth, the better and more tithers you have, the more resources the church will have access to, not for the pastor to buy a Rolls Royce, but so the church can do more things and provide more services and build schools and old folks' homes and put in libraries and have bookstores. That's what we want money for. I want more money, not because I need another car. No. I want more money so that I can do more things.
More service. Yep.
Yes.
Right? So financial literacy has to be acted on. There has to be, we have to execute on that. The third thing is deep. That Black people, our race of people, not just here in America, but globally,
Mm-hmm.
lack a critical mass of critical thinkers and critical thinking needed for the creative utilization of our survival and innovative skills. Critical thinking. We lack critical thinking. In other words, we lack a collective brain. To be a critical thinker, Richard, one has to be intellectually curious. One has to read and be curious about things and want to know more about things and want to incrementally improve things. You have to be curious. So when you're curious, you do the research. You gather data, you gather experiences, you gather knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That then becomes the foundation for critical thinking. And then you take that critical thinking, as I do, and you apply it to strategic and tactical solutions to the big problems.
Yeah.
We need critical thinkers.
Wow.
Du Bois talked about it in the 20s as the talented 10th. It's not some bourgeoisie strategy. He felt that if the 10% of the best and brightest of our people came together, organized, thought together, that they would lead the rest of our people to the promised land. And we know that there's always been a few that have led people to the promised land. That's what Du Bois believed. So the critical thinking that we're talking about here is that talented 10th. Connecting the dots, leveraging more effectively our collective resources and intellectual capital. That's what we have to do. I've been saying this for 25 years. I wrote 6 books on this subject. I'm the guy that popularized the term connect the dots. I've been saying that since 1992. So one of the most popular phrases in America today, connect the dots. At least now everybody knows what it means.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. As I said earlier, we have everything we need to succeed except each other. I don't care what it is that you want to do, what you want to build, what you want to own, what you want to know. I can introduce you to awesome brothers and sisters all over this planet that are already doing, that already know what you want to know and you want to do, except you don't know who they are. And therefore you over in your community reinventing the damn wheel.
Wow.
And the wheel has already been invented. And somebody's already doing it, except you are not in a strategic partnership with them. You don't even understand strategic partnerships, joint ventures, and alliances. You don't even understand that.
Go ahead.
So these are big concepts. And there's a famous, I'm going to just remind people, I thought I had it here. Yeah, here it is. There's a famous little speech I gave 15 years ago called, and you've seen this, Connect the Dots.
Yep.
This is the chart.
Yep.
This is the chart I used at the State of Black America
With
All right.
12 years ago with Tavis Smiley.
Yeah.
Here's
Yep.
the chart. And I said to
Wow.
Black people there on that stage sitting next to Minister Farrakhan, this chart represents beautiful, educated, and moneyed Black people all over the world. It could represent Black churches, Black historical and civic organizations, Black fraternities and sororities, beautiful, educated, money Black people. But you'll notice that all of them are doing their own thing, caught up in a Eurocentric value system of rugged individualism and survival of the fittest. There is no power here. It is a trick, brothers and sisters.
Yes.
This is divide and conquer. This is where all the power is.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
When you connect the dots, whether you're at the center of your own network or you're connected to another network, this is where the power is. It is easy to break a finger. It is hard to break a fist. The strength is in the wolf, the strength is not in the pack. I mean, the strength is in the pack, it's not in the wolf.
That's right.
Yes, that's great.
There's a beautiful African proverb that when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. We don't get this yet. But this pandemic, this moment in time, this presidency, this pandemic, and this upheaval, human upheaval, Black and white upheaval, is the moment in time that we must now seize and act upon. We need critical thinkers. Now, let me give you an analogy, Richard and Lisa. A metaphor, not an analogy, a metaphor for the importance of critical thinking. Let's use the body. There are 10 systems that operate the body. The nervous system, the respiratory system, the digestive, you know what they are. There are 10 systems that work together so that you and I can have this conversation.
Yes.
But there's one thing in the body that without it, the systems would not work. What is that thing? The brain. The brain. The brain controls everything. Now, the brain can't do what the fingers do. The brain can't do what the respiratory system does. The brain can't do what the heart does. The brain can't do what the legs does, right? But the brain controls it all. The impulses from the brain signals to those systems what to do. But each of those systems are critical to your living and breathing.
Wow.
We are missing the brain.
Wow.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
If the brain was fully functional, doing its job, we would be coordinated and operating together, and we would be acting like a healthy body.
Woo.
So not only is our brain jacked up, we are out of our natural minds. We have gone through a psychological holocaust second to none in the history of humankind. We've gone through the most egregious system of slavery ever designed by the human being. And as a result of that, we have no idea who we are. We have no idea who we are. We are the children of the slave that would not die. We have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other. And that is not some hype. That is scientific and anthropological fact. We are God's first people. Europeans did not come to Africa, pull us out of trees, eating bananas, and civilize us. That's total BS. We civilized the world. African people. Now, there were African people, brothers and sisters. In case you don't know, Egypt is in Africa. It is not in the Middle East. And you go to Cairo, walk into the pyramids of Giza, walk through the Valley of the Kings, look in those tombs, look on the walls and see who's on those walls. They are Black people. And it was never Egypt, it was Kemet. for 5,000 years until the Greeks conquered Kemet and changed it to Egypt. What does Kemet mean, Dr. Fraser? It means land of the blacks.
Mm.
We don't know who we are. If everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way, and you'll never understand the reason looking forward, and in spite of the fact that America kept its foot on our throat for 350 years, we overcame that and rose like the phoenix. God works in mysterious ways. We rose like the phoenix. So think about this more deeply. Maybe we were not brought here, Richard. Maybe we were sent here. Do you believe that God would put his weakest people here to do his toughest job? I don't think so. How could an America, how could a European who could morally, biblically, and spiritually justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people, natives already in America and Africans brought to America, have any moral or spiritual grounding? And perhaps had God not sent Africans here, America might have self-destructed by now. God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, he does.
As a result of this, we are the most educated and professionally trained generation of Africans in the entire world. Period. We don't have the resources, the physical and mineral resources and oil of the continent, but we got the brain power. We got the training. So when we bring together this brain power and those resources, all hell will break loose.
Ooh.
Now, you don't think for 1 minute they don't know that? Huh? Richard, you don't think that I understand that they know exactly what I know? And I'm only 75, so they knew that 350 years ago.
Yeah.
So you better work on their heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
But it is not too late.
Amen. Amen.
Everything happens for a reason. Everything in its time. We're working in God's time, not our own time. What's the old saying? You make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah. So Dr. Fraser, not to cut you off, I want to
Well, that was an answer to one question. I'm sorry.
She's waiting to ask one of her questions because, hey, listen.
No, listen.
Hey, Richard, I murdered that question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm getting ready to. I'm
Huh?
getting ready to come back. Listen, I'm all messed up, Dr. Fraser, because something you said goes in line with what you've been discussing. You said this in one of your conferences. You said the impediment to action advances the action, and that which stands in the way becomes the way. I need you to expound upon that because that just hit me in my gut.
So you're going there.
Yes, Lord, please take me deep.
Pull that out. I wasn't
Take
even
me-
going to pull that out, baby.
Take me deep.
I wasn't even going to pull it out because we too early in the day for that. Richard, we too early in the day, right? To drop that bomb on our people. But now you brought it up.
Yes.
Right. So I'm innocent on this. So, but you brought it up. I have to respond because, see, you brought out the atomic bomb. When I talk to our people, and I talk with love and I talk with respect, and I bring up these challenges, but I'm not one just to pontificate ad nauseum about our issues. I'm not that guy. Now, I can eloquently and articulately blow on that, but that is never my point. My point is to give you a 30,000 view of the state of our condition and then to provide you with specific solutions, something you can do today. That's my goal. So you brought up one of the points I bring out. Really at the conclusion of my talks. And I begin by saying one of my favorite quotes outside of the Bible is a quote from Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 great Caesars, the most powerful man in the world at that time. He was a Stoic, brilliant, empathetic, and caring. And it was Marcus Aurelius who said, "The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way." Now, that's deep. That's a mile deep. The impediment to action, right, advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. The other way to say that, a way to more simplify that, as you know, I love speaking and I love saying, let me say that another way.
Yes.
The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are ready for, Richard? He puts an obstacle in your way. Your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle. And when you do, you get an attaboy or you get an attagirl, and then God gives you your next assignment at a slightly higher level. And then what is the next thing he does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under that obstacle, because you learn more from obstacles, you learn more from failure than you do from success. It is a test by God to prepare you for the next level of your assignment. If you fail that test, that's where you remain, and you remain there until you figure out a way to overcome the obstacle. That's right. And when you look back over your life, when you look back over our people, that is the story of our lives. There is no other story. It is all preparation. God knew that we would have to have a huge brain to leverage the massive resources that he has given us, the richest continent in natural resources on the planet. You need a big brain to figure out how to leverage that and for you to benefit from that as opposed to everybody else in the world. That takes a big brain. So he knew that I'm going to have to send some African people. It's going to be painful somewhere to get. They're going to have to fight for the education and knowledge. They're going to have to get into Harvard. The first graduate, PhD graduate, they're going to have to get the education, the knowledge, the training, and the experience, and then they're going to have to come back. We're just beginning to realize that we got to go home. We got to go home. I don't mean literally. There will be those who will. That could be a part of it, but I mean intellectually, right? I mean through strategic alliances, joint ventures, partnerships, all kinds of things. So you say, well, Dr. Fraser, that's a powerful concept. It is a powerful concept. What have you done about that? Oh, at the Power Networking Conference, we simply started a nation.
Yep.
In the cloud. No barriers, no borders, no boundaries. Fraser Nation, right? Where we have our own preamble, where we have our own constitution, 14 articles, and we have our own flag, and we have our own declaration of interdependence. I didn't say independence.
Wow. I love that.
Interdependence. Our own declaration of interdependence. Let me just read the first paragraph to you, brothers and sisters, from our Declaration of Interdependence.
Yes, sir.
Fraser Nation will be the first nation without physical boundaries, borders, or barriers. Fraser Nation will be affiliated with continental African descendants, their extended family throughout the diaspora, and eons of African ancestors that preceded them, stretching across millennia into antiquity, as well as the unending future generations of those yet unborn. Our slogan is freedom, unity, progress for all. We have been inspired by what we consider to be the greatest leader, Marcus Garvey. Now, if you've traveled to the continent, as I have traveled to the continent 31 times, do you know who the most celebrated Black man outside of Africa is in Africa? Marcus Garvey. Everywhere you go in Africa, there are posters, flags, statues of Marcus Garvey. He gave Africa its colors. So we started our own nation. It's in the cloud. Don't tell me we can't build a nation in the cloud, because we are right now operating in the Model T stages of the internet. Henry Ford worked on the Model T 4 editions for 21 years. He didn't know when he finished his final edition in 1921 that 40 years later there would be a car called the Lamborghini Countach that could go from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. The Model T could even get to 60 miles an hour. And then 30 years later, there would be a car called the Ferrari Testarossa that could go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. He had no clue what the automobile would look like in 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years. We have no clue what the cloud and the internet will look like 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, when you consider artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and 20G. Don't tell me we cannot own real estate in the cloud. We'll own real estate on land, but we will connect without interference, no barriers, no borders, no boundaries, using the World Wide Web. I presented this notion at the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa last November. The president of the Pan-African Parliament stood up and said, Dr. Fraser, that is the greatest idea he had ever heard. This is where we're going. We are building a new nation, citizens of generational wealth. We no longer have membership to FraserNet. We used to still, become a member. No, we're not interested in that. We don't want members anymore. We want citizens. Because when we have citizens, you have to apply for citizenship of any nation. And then you have to qualify. So our citizens must be committed, Richard, to demonstrated excellence. I didn't say excellence. I said demonstrated excellence.
Wow.
Excellence is the base that we have to be committed to equity and investment, because we don't own a damn thing. We have to be committed to entrepreneurial thinking. I didn't say entrepreneurship, I said entrepreneurial thinking, taking risk, taking responsibility, and taking ownership for our own lives.
Oh boy, I didn't know you were going there.
Right? That's entrepreneurial thinking. Now, that could eventually morph into entrepreneurship.
Right, right.
But entrepreneurship ain't no joke, baby.
No, no.
So you have to have a certain kind of mindset to succeed in that space, and we need more.
Absolutely.
We need Black people everywhere, but we certainly need more Black business owners. Why? So that we can create work and jobs for our people, because that's the only way to raise up the poor. And every immigrant group that has ever come to America has understood that, but Black people. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews. East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians. Asians are the #1 employer of Asians. Arabs are the #1 employer of Arabs. We ultimately, over the next century, must become the #1 employer of our own people. And we're working on that. We're moving in the right direction, but we have a long way to go, Richard. So
that's a question I want to ask you, Dr. Fraser. We always say, we think we got more time, and we pray a lot. We have incidents like we have now. We have marches. We have the Million Man March. We have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I get frustrated with, my father was a man of action. And, you know, we get all this, we have all this brain power, all this knowledge, all these capabilities created with our hands, with our mind, with our souls, and, you know, this emotional, everything we have, all these qualities, yet and still, we cannot form a movement that is consistent, that is generational, that is spiritual, that is making big waves. We cannot do it. Why is that?
Mm.
There's a simple answer to that. Is because the collective mindset of too many people of African descent, certainly in the Americans, is a subconscious mindset that we are waiting until there is a collective simpatico of thinking. That as soon as all Black people start focusing on and thinking and moving in the right direction, we can make this thing work.
Not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
That's stinking thinking.
That's right.
All Black people have never done anything. All Black people didn't want to be free. That's why Harriet Tubman had to carry a gun. All Black people didn't support Malcolm. All Black people didn't support Garvey. All Black people didn't support Dr. King. When Dr. King went north to try to get support and help from the Black ministry in the north, they said, leave them white people alone. You're messing it up for us. No, all Black people has never done anything. So we can't focus on aligning all Black people. That's a waste of time. And I tell people all the time, do anything but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, but I damn sure ain't wasted it. Right? So I have come to a conclusion after 40 years of service to our people, of which I love. I am a race man. A race man or a race woman is someone who's committed their time, talent, and treasure to the investment and upliftment of his or her own people first. I'm a race man. So everything I have goes towards my people, right? So I am committed to execute, not just pontificating. Certainly I must understand the breadth and depth of our challenges. So I'm a student of our people. I read 100 books a year. I've been reading 100 books a year for over 40 years. I'm a student, but I'm also, as you said, Richard, I'm an activist.
Yep.
But I do not protest and saber rattle. There are others who do that, and that's important, and that's their role. Even rioting has a role. Protesting has a role. And then what I do is look at the landscape strategically and tactically and quietly, put together a plan to execute, to deal with the issue at hand. Financial education wins. Building a nation so that we can come together without barriers, borders, and boundaries. Fraser Nation. Developing training to increase the level of excellence in business and all things money at the Power Networking Conference. Been doing that for 19 years. The Power Networking Conference is 19 years old. Forbes magazine named it one of the top 5 Black conferences, not Black conferences, I take that back. One of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. Not one of the top 5 Black conferences. One of the top 5 of all the conferences put on in this country. I've been quietly doing that with 1,500 of the baddest brothers and sisters on the planet for 19 years. The next one is October 14th through the 17th in Houston, Texas. Right? So I'm not just talking about it. This is the Power Networking Conference. This is wins, right? These are big things that have been done over long periods of time quietly. So I've come up, and I'll finish with this thought. I've come up with a new rule 40 years of investment in our people, 3,500 speeches across the globe, 9.5 million frequent flyer miles, and 6 best-selling books, and I'm highly decorated. I've come up with a new rule. And again, brothers and sisters, I want to say this is still beloved. My new rule is what I call the 85-10-4-1 rule. 85-10-4-1 rule. Here's what it is. 85% of Black people are sleepwalking through life. 10% are pimping the sleepwalkers. 4% have pulled themselves out of that dark, sunken place and are ready to see the light. 1% are the light and are ready to help the 4% get woke. Let's do the math. There are 48 million Black people in America. 4% are ready. About 2.1, 2.2 million. 1%, like Richard and Lesia, are the light, the mentors, the coaches, the teachers. That's about 500,000. So there are about 2.2 to 2.3 million Black people in America, Richard, ready for what we are talking about. Those are the only ones I'm targeting what I do to. Let me say that a different way. Not everything is for everybody, but there is something for everybody. But if you're building something for everybody, you're building something for nobody.
Yeah, one more again.
Can you say that again? I need you to say that again.
Yeah, that's right. So that's, again, that's a mile deep.
Yeah.
There is something for everybody. Would you agree?
Yes, yes.
But not everything is for everybody. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yep.
But if you're trying to please everybody with something that you're building, you're really building something for nobody. So it's a conundrum wrapped up in an enigma. You have to understand and distinguish between the three.
Wow.
What I am saying for me is what I am doing, quiet, is not for everybody. And by the way, I'm not trying to build it for everybody. To be a citizen of our nation, the base is excellence, not mediocrity and not averageness. When you fill out our citizenship papers, you have to articulate how you have demonstrated excellence. I didn't say just say excellence. Tell me how you demonstrated it. You see, Black people cannot be mediocre. My mama taught me many years ago that you're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much, because if you're Black and mediocre in America, you better leave, because you're going to be marginalized and you're ultimately going to be destroyed. Mediocrity is only for white people. How do we know this? Look at our president. How could an idiot like that rise to the leader of the free world, and he is absolute mediocrity as compared to Barack Hussein Obama? Can you compare the intellectual capacity of Donald Trump to Barack Hussein or Obama or even Michelle?
No.
No.
No way.
I gave a speech for a large Fortune 500 company 10 years ago. They brought me in, paid me $15,000 to talk about diversity and inclusion in America. I closed my speech with this mic drop. You could hear a rat piss on cotton in Georgia when I said it. Here's what I said. You will know that it is the end of racism in America when a mediocre Black man can rise in the corporate world. That will never happen in your lifetime. And I've worked for Procter & Gamble, United Way, and Ford Motor Company in executive positions. Do you know how many mediocre white people I worked for? It was a joke in my own mind. We cannot be mediocre. It's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair. It's just what it is.
It's real.
So we got to ramp up, man up, woman up, sharpen the saw, right?
Yeah.
and outsmart them, outperform them, outcompete them. And we know that if the playing field is level and the rules are clear, whenever we have been given an opportunity, Richard, not only have we competed, we have dominated. We took over the game. We changed the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we can do more than sing and dance, play football, baseball, and basketball. Black people were not put here to entertain white people.
Come on here. Mm.
Amen.
But if all we have the opportunity to do is to entertain you, we'll do it like you've never seen it before. We'll do it so well that you will begin to copy us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I got one question real quick for you, Dr. Wallace and Dr. Fraser. And I want, because we have a big religious audience, and more importantly, we got a lot of bishops and pastors on the line now. And I wish we were on the radio right now because they were probably calling in and ask questions. If you had let's say we got like 10,000 churches in the city of Baltimore, and you had them in one auditorium, what would be the 3 or 4 priority or top things you would tell them pastors about moving forward, going forward?
Well, Richard, we've been on almost 2 hours. I've already said them.
I know you did.
Not only have I said them,
I know
I unpacked them.
Yeah, you did.
Right?
You did.
A, pastors must work on the financial literacy of their congregation. It is in their best interest. And not only is it in the best interest of the church, it is in the best interest of your congregation, which is in the best interest of the church.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That, for me, would be number one. And there's plenty of justification for it. It's all over, all in the Bible, except, generally speaking, most Black pastors ignore it. There should not be a year of 52 sermons, and at least 15 to 20 of those sermons have something to do with economics. You should have in your church a wealth building center where you teach classes with a curriculum that people can sign up for, that is a certification program, and it's free to them. Just like you have a Wednesday night Bible study, Thursday night should be economic development, economic literacy night, using biblical principles. You want to know how to do that? Call me.
My pastor is doing that. McKendall Robinson is doing that right now as we speak.
Yeah. We're installing our Wins Wealth Building Centers at New Birth right now with Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryan.
Yeah, we know. I know him well. Know him well.
Absolutely.
Know him well.
So that would be one. The other, I talked about the healing and the rebuilding, and let us say the reconstitution of the Black family. The Black family. Critical. There is no race on earth that thrives without their family being at the center of that. This is why economic advancement is growing faster than in the Hispanic community than it is in the Black community, because they got 2 working on their economic platform and we have 1.
Wow.
2 will always beat 1.
Yes, always. Yeah.
Right? So that's huge, huge, huge. And the third is leadership. Leadership. But we no longer need a single leader. Forget that. We tend to kill our leaders. We don't need it any longer. We need leaders of leaders in silos. We
Leaders of leaders in silos.
Quietly and productively. Leadership. So the Black church should be certainly focused on, and it is. I think it's one of the best institutions in our culture when it comes to focusing on providing leadership opportunities for our people. They should continue to do that, formalize it. This, in fact, if you think about Black America, probably most of our best Black leadership comes out of the church.
Mhm.
Right? So I just can't think of an institution more important to the survival and thriving of Black people than our Black church. It has been the most important and the biggest business in the Black world. There is no business in the Black world larger than the Black church. And it is a business, and it should be a business. And it should be generating wealth so that more can be given to our church so they can do more things.
Wow.
Those would be my three things off of the top of my head. And join our nation.
I do know that, and we're gonna let you close. When you close out, I want to give all your information, how to contact you about Fraser Nation. We've been on an hour and 10 minutes or so. We're gonna do about 5 more minutes if we can. But I know that education is serious with you. You have several charter schools. You're trying to educate the young, and I want you to speak to the youth if you can. You're 75 years old. You've done a lot. You've seen a lot. You have traveled. A lot of our youth have not traveled. They've stayed in the one block and one community for a long time. And you've been able to see a lot of growth, a lot of wealthy people, a lot of poor people across the world. If you had anything to say to the youth today, what would you say?
To our young brothers and sisters, I'm going to start this thought with a question. Now, I'm like a lawyer. I don't ask questions that I don't know answers to. But sometimes I have to ask myself certain questions because you wouldn't even know to ask me the question. So I ask myself the question so that I can answer the question so that you will know at some point in time what the answer is. You need to know now. So the question is this. We are all drinking from wells that we did not dig, that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. If in fact that is the truth, the question we must all ask ourselves, baby boomers, Generation X, Y, Z, and Generation Alpha, the children of the millennials, is are we worthy of that legacy? A 250-year fight for civil rights voting, for freedom, 1690 to 1864, 250-year fight. We know who the heroes are for that. A 100-year fight for civil rights, voting rights, and public access, 1864 to 1964. We know who the heroes are for that. We celebrate them. We write about them. We see movies about them. Are we worthy of this legacy? The question then becomes, if you feel that we are worthy of this legacy, and the baby boomers were the last generation to contribute to civil rights, voting rights, and public access. I'm 75, the oldest of baby boomers, the youngest baby boomer is 55. The question then becomes for Generation X, Y, and Z, and Generation Alpha, what will be your legacy? What will our children's 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 children be saying about you 200 years from now? Will it be Black Lives Matter? Will that be your legacy? Will it be the hip hop culture? Will we all be in unison singing your songs 150 years from now versus Marvin Gaye, what's going on? What will be your legacy? That is the ultimate challenge. As an elder, I'm throwing the gauntlet down is to figure that out. What will be your legacy? Right now, it's an interesting start. I think your legacy must be, because we as baby boomers will not have enough time to fulfill this particular legacy, and that is economics must become the new Black power. Economics must become the new Black power. Everything begins with economics, as Dr. Claude Anderson has been saying for 25 years. And then you use the economics to buy, rent, and lease politicians to get laws changed. Ask the Jews. Economics must become the new Black power, and through economics, you will change laws. You will buy, rent, and lease politicians who, in fact, advocate carry your water for the laws that you want. But you got to pay. It took $1 billion to elect Barack Hussein Obama. Somebody paid that bill. What did they want? And what did they get? Our brothers in the gay rights community, I think, contributed about 60 million to Barack's campaign. What did they want? And what did they get? When Barack was elected president, he was completely against gay marriage. Our gay rights and brothers and sisters wanted the legal right to marry. They invested in that. They got that. Oh yes, the vote is important. But ask any honest politician, my young brothers and sisters, whether they would want your money or your vote. And they'll tell you, I'll take your money. If I get your money, I can get your vote. We don't write checks. We vote, but we don't write checks. When we finish pontificating ad nauseum about our issues, my young brothers and sisters, somebody's got to write a check. A check has to be written.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't ever forget this.
Yeah. 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 True.
Wow.
So, Dr. Fraser, I want you to give everybody all your information, how they reach you, how they can reach you, your platform. I'm definitely joining Fraser now. I'll put my application in now, my citizenship, brother. Excuse me.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna make an offer. I hope I didn't upset too many Black people out there, but as an elder, I really don't give a shit.
Somebody tell the Lord thank you.
Right? Now, Jesus would not have said it that way, but he did say it.
That's
but
right.
He didn't say it quite that way. Right? Or as Malcolm once said, if I throw a rock and it hits you, it was intended for you.
To hit you. That's right. That's right.
If it didn't hit you, it was intended for you.
Yeah.
Right? You told the truth, Dr. Fraser. You told the truth. You told the truth. So if it was offensive to someone, maybe they need to learn how to handle the truth.
Right. Well, thank you, my dear. I say the truth will set you free, but it will make you miserable first.
Yeah. True. That's true.
Hey.
That's right.
We got a lot of change.
There's going to be a little pain, right? Jesus endured pain, the Son of God. There's going to be a little pain. So I want to invite our listeners to the Power Networking Conference, October the 14th through the 17th in Houston, Texas at the Hilton of America. So we have rescheduled it from July. So this is a conference like no other. It's been on 19 years. Forbes magazine named it one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed, not one of the top 5 Black conferences, but one of the top 5 of all conferences. You need to be there.
Mm-hmm. I'll be there.
It is a place where you will learn, you will earn, and you will learn to return. Learn, earn, and return. You will connect, you will grow, you will prosper. If you are interested in financial education, you're going to learn everything you need to know to use your money wisely. If you want to know how to start, build, grow your business, you're going to learn everything you need to know by people who have built businesses, millionaires and billionaires. Those are the only two subjects we talk about for 4 days, business and money. The side subject that we talk about, but it's an important subject, is wellness, psychological wellness and physical wellness, because they're connected, right? So I want you to come. So I'm going to make you a special Richard and Lesia offer.
Yes, sir.
It is a 3-hour offer. It's good for 3 hours, and it's good for the first 10 people to take advantage. This offers only for 10 people. First 10 people, and you can only get it one way. Now, you can go to our website, powernetworkingconference.com. That's powernetworkingconference.com. See all about the conference. But you can't get this offer on our website. You can get an offer, but you can't get this offer. An adult registration at the conference is $1,500. If you met one person that could help change the trajectory of your life, would that be worth $1,500? The answer to that would be held to the yes.
Yes.
You'll meet more than one. It will be a life-changing, immersive experience. We want you to bring a young person, student preferably, 17 to 25, college age, so that they can sit at the feet of masters and learn with you while you're coaching them, nudging them, and reinterpreting what perhaps is being said. A student registration is $800. So a student registration and an adult registration is $2,300. We're going to take off $1,900. And we're going to make it $399. You can bring one adult and one student for $399. That's a $1,900 discount. There's only one way you can get it, and that's through me. You have to email me at gfraser, F-R-A-S as in Sam, E-R, gfraser at frasernet.com. gfraser at frasernet.com. That's gfraser at frasernet.com. Say in the subject line, I'm in. And then in the body of the email, put your full name and your cell number, your full name and your cell number, your full name and your cell number. The first 10 people, all emails are timestamp. We'll get the $399 offer, $1,900 off. That is a special offer. We'll see you in October 14th through the 17th in Houston, Texas. And participate in a life-changing experience. By the way, at the conference, you will meet Dr. Julius Garvey. Now, most of you probably don't know who Julius Garvey is. Julius Garvey is the son of Marcus Garvey. He's 86 years old. We spent 2 weeks together in Africa in November. Apples don't fall too far from the tree. You will meet the son of one of the most historic leaders in Black history, Dr. Julius Garvey. You'll want to get his autograph. He's 86.
Wow. I just sent my email.
I'm not able to send mine, Dr. Fraser, because I got everything going on here.
Mm-hmm. Do it from your phone.
Yes. Dr. Fraser, I want to say thank you. You're so gracious for a man of your stature and doing what you're doing for this community, to answer an email from little old me and say, yo, if you're doing this type of work, I want to participate. And I really appreciate it. This is what